Welcome, followers of the channel. You've seen the thumbnail. It's a dilemma. It's a dilemma we all have. Some more than others. Some like me, sleepless nights. Do I need an electric van? Right, we're in year 2023. We're all being pushed by the government and people to go electric. But realistically, as a sole trader, as a small business, can you justify the cost of what an electric vehicle will cost you as a business running cost? And you'll go, Phil, what do you mean? I like doing that, don't I? Phil, what do you mean? Let me just give you some figures. I'm not going to say facts and figures, and I'm not claiming to be a financial advisor. I'm not claiming to be somebody that is preaching you about the costs of things, because you do your own research and you look into it to find out what suits you best. But as a small business like we are, we already have a van and our vans are paid for. We've done the HPs and we've paid for them over the years. And to be fair, this van that we've got a nice 2018 Ford Transit Connect. It's the long wheelbase and it's the trend model, so it's quite nice. We've got 3 1.5 seat front capacity with the driver's seat, so I can get my lads in, albeit now they're getting a bit bigger, it's a bit of a squeeze. We've got long wheelbase at the back, and it's not an overly sized big van to actually take to customers' houses. But going forward, this is getting older. It's still worth quite a bit from what we paid for it. I think we paid about £12,000 plus VAT just before COVID hit and van prices went ridiculous. It had only got 11,000 miles on it, so it was average mileage for when we bought it because it was a nearly new. It was only 12 months old. And as I'm sitting here now, we're not even on 35,000. So as a van, it's clean and tidy. But am I getting a bit itchy feet to wanting an electric vehicle? Am I spending money unnecessarily? Will I spend money unnecessarily? But let me just give you, I've just got some notes down here just so I don't forget everything if I need to look at them. I fancy, and I know some of you have already made the change, I fancy a Porsche. A Porsche listening. Can you do me a commercial vehicle Porsche? No sponsorship, no nothing. Oh, while I'm at it, yeah, my paid promotion is all to do with the Amazon stuff below. You should know that by now. Anyway, just going forward, right, if you see my eyes drop down, it's just because I'm making sure my figures that I've written down are correct. Don't hold that against me. Right, I fancy one of those iBuzz cargo Volkswagen vans. You know, the ones that are like the retro. Now, I'm just looking. I've written down what I've seen to give you an idea. As we're sitting here now in, what, mid-October. You'll probably see this in November. Mid-October, I could get a pre-ordered stroke cancelled order for somebody, an iBuzz cargo for 42k plus VAT. It's mental money. It's mental money. Nicely specced out, all the bits and pieces you want without going mad. But realistically, can I justify the thought of going electric compared to sticking with a diesel? And you go, what do you mean electric? Well, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking that a 4-year-old electric vehicle, the battery charge is going to deteriorate and you're not going to get so much mileage out of battery. Am I correct, or am I right, or am I wrong? Because currently, a full battery on an iBuzz will do roughly about 250, 260 miles. And that will depend on, I suppose, how much load you've got in the back, how much electric stuff you're running, whether you're running your air conditioning. And I would also say, and I don't know because I've not got one, if the weather's cold outside, does that drain your battery slightly for the power that's needed? I'm unsure. That 250, 260 mile charge range that you've got, a full charge, would cost you, to do a 0 to 100 charge, to give you that, is about £11 or £12. And that will depend on what rates you've got allocated to your home tariff for charging. Obviously, charging at a public point might cost you a little bit more, and being at home might be a bit more cost effective. because when you're doing home charging, I've got it down here so I can tell you, if you've got a full charge at home, on plugging it in, however you do it, takes 35 hours, right? If you're doing a top-up charge at home, 4 hours, does you about 30 miles, right? So it's 4 hours 10, does you 30 miles. And if you're a public, because I've got to look at this, if you're at a public charge in station, 80% charge, which will give you a full charge, takes about 30 minutes because they're on real fast charging. And a top-up charge to do your 30 miles is also minimal. It takes you about 4 minutes. So the capabilities of there are keeping you going are fine, but all that comes at a cost. And the cost to get all that to be eco-friendly, and we know about the electric's going to be made at the power station down the road with using coal and fossil fuel and everything. We know that. And the vehicle's been made with rubber tyres, we know that. But 42k plus VAT, now we're VAT registered, so we could knock the VAT off, but 42,000 for a brand spanking new stroke nearly new vehicle is a lot of money a month, isn't it? It's a lot of money a month. So do you stick with a diesel vehicle or do you go to an electric? Can we justify an electric vehicle? I'm not sure, because that is a lot of money. And let me just give you some figures of comparisons. Now, we're in a Ford, as I say, I'm in a Ford Connect Transit, which is the smaller version, the lower roof, and quite nice vehicle, to be fair. But I've been looking around, and you can imagine the transit van that I'd like. Mr. Beckwith Senior is well against it, but I would like, and could you imagine pulling up on a customer's drive in a Ford Transit, I'm going to say MSRTs. You've seen them. They look like a transit van on steroids. Now, I've been looking at these and pricing them up, and you can get one on a deal. £43,500 plus VAT, and they should be 55k plus VAT, which is as good, 20% on that, £65,000 vehicle. That is mental money. That is mental for a construction industry job. Who is paying that to have loads of tins of paint in the back? I'm not sure. But let's drop down. Let's move away from 40 odd thousand. Let's bring it back down to, I'll say, bite-sized chunks of 30k. And I know people will say you can pick up a nice van for 20k and you can pick up a second-hand nearly new like we did for 14 or 15. I know, but if you're looking at a nearly new, and some people do, I've got it here that you can pick up a brand new transit van custom for just under £30,000 with the specialist discounts that dealers are doing, that are retailing at 36,500. That's a lot of money. Makes me go hot to think that money could go towards a Porsche. I'm joking. Right, but that is a lot of money. But the difference that we've got, let's call it 30 grand plus VAT, you've got a diesel engine, 2 litre diesel, you've got 38 miles to the gallon, and the tank size is 80 litres. Compared to an iBuzz that is a 77 kilowatt battery, you've got an 80 litre tank. Now, at the current price of diesel, let's call it about 155 a litre, you're looking at around about 120, 125, 130 pounds a tank full, a full tank, depending on where you live and what you're paying for your diesel. Now, I know that we'll fill this van up and we'll probably put V-Power diesel in sometimes. My dad will put V-Power diesel in it all the time because he thinks it makes it go a bit faster, maybe. And that can be, a full tank can be about 90 quid. It's a lot of money. But let's just break down some figures for costs. If you were looking at financing, because not everybody's going to be VAT registered, if you were looking at paying, and this is just figures you can get off the net, but if you're watching this, I'm going to tell you, if you're looking on the net at financing figures, £35,000, that'll include your VAT if you can't claim that. 35 grand on a PCP, which is a personal contract deal, 35 grand, 3 grand deposit, keeping it under 10,000 miles, over 48 months is as good as £600 a month. Now, this is when I say in my videos there about business running costs, that would be offset with your business running costs, £600 a month, and what you're paying towards your van, £3 deposit. These are on extortionate APRs, which is over 10, 12, this is 12.9%. You can get cheaper if you probably went through your bank. But at 12.9%, a 35 grand vehicle is costing you 48 months as good as £600. Now, if you do the maths, after that 48 months, you have still got 16.5 grand to refinance and start again, or pay it off as a balloon payment. That's up to you. If you dropped it back down to what we all know as borrowing, HP, you know, proper the old-fashioned HP. If you were looking at, let's call it a 20 grand vehicle plus VAT, so you're looking at, just add 20% to that, 24,000. £24,000, you're putting a £3 grand deposit down, and you're going to finance £21,000 over same sort of period, 48 months. Again, you're looking at £525, £530 a month. But you would pay that off after that 48 months. But if you do the maths of what you've paid off to what you paid as a deposit with the interest, and the interest on this one, I think I've got it at 9.9%, so a little bit better. By the time you add all that up, you will have paid back £28,234.56. So you can see that you actually paid quite a bit back, because you already started by giving them £3,000, plus you've given them another umpteen thousand in interest of that 10% that you borrowed, because it's really, the APR is the 10% of what you're borrowing, which is your 21,000. So it's a lot of money, isn't it? What do you do? Because the question is, what do you do when you need a new van? We're not particularly needing a new van, so I'm not going to be buying and not going to spend. I don't want to come across as, oh, Phil's got loads of money, because we do all private posh work and we're not 120 quid a day in. We've got a nice van. It's just that there is a time that our older van, which is a Vauxhall combo, that will probably want to be replaced. But what do we do? Because you can't get, I'll say, a nearly new like we did with this for the value that we paid for this 4 years ago, which was still a lot of money, 15 grand with the VAT, 12 grand plus VAT. But these vans now, I'd probably not lose anything on trying to sell it. I mean, it's clean and tidy, 35,000 mile on a 2018 vehicle. What do you do? What do you do? If you're looking for a new van, whether it be a nearly new, brand new, or a second-hand van, what do you look for in a van? Would you consider, and the question is, would you consider looking at an electric vehicle, knowing that the initial outlay is a lot of money? Because in effect, you're looking at probably another 12,000, 13,000 on top of, let's call it a standard transit van, which is a nice spec, but 30 grand compared to 43. You've got to find another £13,000, haven't you? So the question is, what do you do? What is the dilemma? Do I look going forward at electric vehicles, or do we stick with the gas guzzling, well, 38 miles to the gallon is not too bad, diesel vehicles, or even drop down to a petrol, smaller petrol? I'm not sure. The question is to you today, what do you do? What is the dilemma that we are all going to come across when they say diesels have all finished and you've got to buy an electric? When we're seeing at the moment issues with electric vehicles catching fire, you only have to do a Google search on that. And also the cost, the initial outlay cost for an electric vehicle, but not knowing what that residual value of the vehicle will be in 3 to 4 years' time. When I'm sitting in a van that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years and know that it is a tangible asset that somebody would buy off me, knowing it's only got 35,000 miles. So on that note, I'm going to say, I'll leave it with you. Please give us some comments. I've kept this under 30 minutes. I know I have. But it's a very controversial subject of what do you do? Videos there. Thanks for listening to me. Please give us some comments. If you're liking this sort of stuff, give us a like. Make sure you're subscribed.